introduce our speaker. As business owners and entrepreneurs, ask yourself these questions. Are you feeling overwhelmed, burnt out, or hitting a wall because you have to juggle it all on your own? Do you want to elevate your business to the next level and play full out and still enjoy other aspects of your life? Do you feel life as an entrepreneur can sometimes be a lonely journey? If you answered yes to any of these questions, the time is to make change now. The good news is there are solutions, and after you hear Dr. Kare Jacobson's presentation, you'll discover how. Dr. Kare has over 30 years of leadership and communications expertise, starting from her service as a military commander in the Israeli army, and to today, sitting on boards of professional associations, as well as running a multi-generational business. She's also a champion Latin ballroom dancer that will keep you on your toes as she reveals to you the secrets of the modern day superachievers. What's wonderful about today is that she has a new book, Power Conversations, and it just is debuting today. It is hot off the press. So I'd like to welcome her and her book up on the stage.
Good morning. Good morning. What a beautiful place, what a beautiful location, and what a beautiful time to start a brand new year. A few days ago, I had the opportunity to attend a boot camp for something called Street Pitch. Anyone heard of Street Pitch? Street Pitch is happening right here in Arizona. And it's a group of entrepreneurs, anywheres from youth all the way through adults in even their 40s and 50s. And they're going to have the opportunity to share information about their business on the street downtown Phoenix in front of a crowd. Now we're talking about a street, and we're talking about high school kids and people in their 40s, 30s, and 20s. Now what's beautiful about it is that they have the opportunity to talk about a brand new business. I've been asked to coach some of them in their pitch, in their speaking. So they had gone up in front of the room and shared their story. What really got to me was watching these people and their excitement, because they're starting a whole brand new business. They're out there sharing their message, sharing their passion with the world. Now, how many of you are either solopreneurs, small business owners? Show of hands. How many of you remember when you first started? Remember that feeling, that excitement that you had? What happens today? Is it still there? Is that same excitement still there? Sometimes. Well, what if you can create that excitement and with that joy and passion work every single day and be able to create some balance in your life without having to worry about breakdown and fatigue and overwork and overwhelm? Anyone ready for the ride? Good. So what we're going to do is talk a little bit about what it means today, in modern days, to be a high performer. And I'll ask you this question. Will you dare play at the top of your game and be a top performer? Right in front of you, you'll have some notes to follow. Today's going to be a little different. You're not going to see me putting slides up on the wall. I'm not here to bore you. I'm here to help you make a change in yourself so that you can move to the next level. So today is going to be interactive. You're going to work with each other. And we're going to start off with something simple. How many of you are goal setters? Ta-da! How many of you in the next year have the same exact goal in some areas of your life? Ta-da! Well, let's start by looking at how we set goals. Our goal, isn't it a destination? Think of it this way. If you're going to travel and you're hitting the road, what do you have to do? You have to plan a trip, right? You have to pick where you're going to go. How many of you will just take a map and throw a dart? Didn't think so. So you're going to plan, and you're going to know where you're going. You'll have directions. And if it's a long trip, you'll probably pick some stops along the way so that you can recharge. Isn't that true? So you'll have some interim goals. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick up a pen, and on the notes that you have, I want you to take about a minute and think about only 3 of the goals that you have this year in your life. It could be business, it could be personal. One of them has to be really big. And what do I mean by big? It doesn't mean that you're going to just slightly stretch out of your comfort zone. It means that that big goal is going to give you that gulp, that feeling like, anyone ever heard the comment BHAG, that big, hairy, audacious goal? Kind of have that. It kind of makes you shake a little bit when you think about it. So take a minute and just focus and think. Those goals can be 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. It doesn't matter. It's whatever is right for you for your next goal. Because what happens if you break through your goal? You can reset it. So take a moment and write down those 3 goals on the top of the page where your destination is. Everyone have at least that big goal on the paper? Good. So we're going to move on to the next step. One of the things that I talk about in Power Conversations is the fact that words hold power. There's a certain level when we write something down and we commit to it, but there's another level when we actually share that with somebody. Isn't that true, Gabe? Yes. So here's what you're going to do. You want to take your goal to the next level? You're going to turn and pick a partner, and you're going to share your goals right now with them. Take about 20 seconds and share your like to share what it first of all was like sharing your goal, your big goal. Did anybody get a little butterflies or a little bit? So who's ready to share at a higher level and share a goal, that big scary goal, with the entire room? Yes, babe.
Paid speaking gigs. That's what I'm after.
She declares. Do you think she really means it?
Yes.
Absolutely. That is the conviction that I saw the other day with these young kids. And that's the conviction that at times, when we're along the way, when we start hitting those roadblocks, we're not so sure we have that in the morning. But we'll get to that. Anyone else? Who else? Yes, Sherry.
So my big goal is to promote 4 vice presidents in my organization.
And tell everybody what organization you're in?
Arbonne International.
Yep. Thank you. Who else? Yes, just share your name with us.
My name is Melody Elkin, and my goal is to open the second location of Sweetest Season Bakery.
Nice. I'm sure everybody would be happy to have another bakery at a convenient location near you. How about somebody on this side of the room? A big scary goal, come on.
Hi, I'm Crystal, and I just opened this salon a year ago at Tempe Marketplace, Tony and Guy Hairdressing, and my goal is next year, within the year, to open my second location.
Wonderful. Wonderful. How do we maintain that passion, that mindset, when things are in our way? So our drive or our attitude is our mindset. That's going to be your first D in the dare. So on your sheet, you'll see, talks about D. That's going to be your drive, your mindset. Now, how many of you are familiar with affirmations? How many of you are familiar with the cliche, fake it until you make it? People, it doesn't really work. We have to change in order to make a difference. We have to change our thinking and our messages and our belief systems in order to change our actions. And how do we do that? Who's going to be my lucky volunteer? Okay, so somebody that does not know me, that I'm not, look, we're here in front of an audience, in front of witnesses, so you know I'm not going to do anything to hurt anybody. Would like to, yeah, come right up here. And thank your executive director for having me. How many of you are familiar with muscle testing? One of the things that muscle testing shows us is if we're actually true and connected to our body. So we're going to do a couple of things. Come a little closer so that we have what we're going to do. Bring your arm out, and you're going to make a fist. You're not going to punch me, but I'm going to actually do it. So keep your head in. Now I'm going to ask you, tell me what your name is.
Anne.
My name, just say my name is.
My name is Anne. My name is Anne.
Now, I've got 2 fingers on here, so I want you to resist me. Good, pretty easy. Now,
My name is Priscilla.
how's that? Now keep your shoulder level as she's inching up to resist me. Say that again.
My name is Priscilla.
That works? How's that working, huh? Now, what I want you to do is to think about a time when you felt totally strong and totally empowered. And resist me. used a whole hand, nothing's moving. I want you to think about doing something, whether it's your big goal. Look at that, did you see that big goal? I said big goal. Okay, let's try that one. How's that working? The body does not lie. Now, what's scaring you in that big goal? Can you share?
I think what it is just taking more personal time. I'm very committed to work, and I feel like I've lost that personal connection.
How many have had that in their entrepreneurial or business journey? Hey, the average American works over 60 hours a week, especially if they're entrepreneurs, and we never turn it off. That's the biggest challenge. So let's try something. Are you ready to play?
Sure.
Okay. As she looks at me with fear in her eyes. We're going to address the fear later on. That would be another activity. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to think about a time in your life when you were totally empowered, totally strong, totally confident. And I'm going to have you just go back to that place, go in your mind. I want you to just close your eyes if you have to just be able to get there. And I want you to make a picture as though you're in a movie. Think about it. I want you to make it life-size. She can't even see. Play with me. Play with me. Right? You look at that space where you feel totally empowered, totally confident. Are you there? I want you to make it lifelike, big size, bright colors. Close your eyes so you can really step into that picture. I want you to step into that picture. Feel the feelings of empowerment. Hear the sounds. See the sights. Are you there yet? Good. And wipe the picture. You're going to come up with the second one. Which, by the way, did you see the changes in her when all of a sudden her posture changed when she was in that space? Did everybody see that? Okay. Let's do another one. I want you to go to another time in your life where you felt totally powerful and confident. Got that picture? Good. So I want you to now close your eyes, and I want you to just make that picture life-size and step into that picture. And I want you to feel the feelings that you felt, hear the sounds, see the pictures, turn them up brighter. There yet?
Yes.
Good. And wipe the slate. Everybody see the changes again? I'm going to do one more. I want you to take one more situation, and this situation is when you were totally loved. When you felt totally loved. I didn't see that? That place that you just thought about. Okay. So I want you to go there in your mind. And I want you to make it life-size. Good. And I want you to step in and turn that power on. Feel the love. And wipe the screen. All right. Are we ready to face that challenge?
Yes.
Here's what you're going to do. You're going to face that challenge. Do you see the difference in her already? Yeah, I'll show you, Karen. You're going to face that challenge with that feeling that you just built in yourself. Okay?
Okay.
So now, good. Fist. Okay? Let the shoulder level. Keep the shoulder level. I want you to now think about that big scary goal and resist. I create something called an anchor. How many of you have ever seen Celine Dion sing? Pretty much everybody? Now, I'm not going to tap my mic, but if you ever seen when she sings like she goes, "When I'm your lady," and she taps her chest. It's an anchor. An anchor is when we have an emotion that is connected to another action. What did I do with you? Just created an anchor. So guess what? Every time somebody taps you on that shoulder, you're going to go into that state of power. And the beauty is that now, touch your shoulder. Probably with the other hand, that's kind of, touch that same spot, what does that do for you? What do you feel?
Power, calm.
Power and calm. That, anytime, is a resource for her, isn't it? Anytime she's in a position where she feels stressed, where she feels that she's not so powerful, all she's got to do is tap that anchor. Most of the time when we create an anchor, I recommend that we create it in places where people don't necessarily touch us. In other words, when somebody, if I'm coming and I'm going to shake your hand, we shake what? Right to right hand. I wouldn't put an anchor on someone's right hand, but I would put it, when I did the training, I put it on the knuckle on the opposite hand, because most of the time you don't shake hands with the left, so nobody's going to touch your left knuckle. But your state of mind is determined by your thoughts. Isn't that true? We behave based on our thoughts. So she had that negative thought that peeked in there and brought that trepidation. And by having her go back to a time where she felt powerful, she changed her thoughts, she changed her state. You saw her body change, right? Now, how many of you have also heard the concept of the Wonder Woman pose? Amy Cuddy has done a lot of research on it. So there are two ways to change your mindset. You could change your thoughts, which will help you change your physiology, just like you saw with Anne, or you can change your physiology, which will help you change your thoughts. Because tell me, if you stand like this for 2 minutes, you're not going to feel powerful. And there are actually a number of other ones. How many of you have ever seen the victory at the end of the finish line? What do you think Usain Bolt's pose is? It's a power pose, correct? So you can use some of your own resources to affect your neurology, to affect your state of mind. So to tie it back to that entrepreneur space, how many of you remember that excitement and that passion that you had when you were ready to start? When you were ready to go on that journey and build your business? Or take on a new position at work that you were excited about? Anyone? Only this side of the room has that, right? So anytime you want to bring that back, go back in your mind. Because guess what? Does your mind know the difference between what's real and what's imagined? No. She had feelings and physical changes by just thinking and putting mental pictures in her head. Now sometimes those mental pictures can actually work against us. And those would be the things that would hold us back from accomplishing. So now that we've touched on mindset, let's move to the next level. So we have the mindset, we're all jazzed, we're ready to go, but what do we do? What do we do? Well, we've got to take some action, isn't that true? So A stands for action. How many of you actually plan your day? A handful. How many of you then will start planning your day the night before? Excellent. So let's talk a little bit about preparation. When I do my high performance training, I will talk about discipline and actions. And where did I learn that? I learned a lot of that when I was a little kid. I moved to Israel when I was 6 years old. It was very different from living here. New food, new kids, new language that I didn't speak. And we moved in with my grandfather for a while. Now, my grandfather at the time was in his 70s. My grandfather used to be the head of the Haganah, which was the Israeli Defense Force before Israel, before 1948. And my grandfather, who was an engineer, was a very stern man. As a matter of fact, he's the only person in my entire life that I used one word with. I revered my grandfather. He was not only a role model, but he was larger than life, even though if he were alive now, he would be about this tall. And as a 6-year-old kid, I would watch my grandfather. He would have his breakfast laid out in front of him. There was a newspaper. There was a bowl of cornflakes and milk. There was half a grapefruit with sugar sprinkled on it, Polish, and a cup of tea. And Mona, his little dog, was right next to him. And every single day, at the same time, he used to have that same ritual. He used to do the same thing. And then he would take his cane and go out with Mona for a walk. And when he came back, he would go into his office. And in his office, he had all of these books. My grandfather was disciplined. And what he taught me as a child is not only to have that kind of discipline, but my grandfather is the person who taught me how to learn. Because I would come up, of course, when we were allowed into the office, and he would have coins sitting at the end of the desk, which were our allowance, once a week. But when I would come in to ask him questions, he would take my hand, he would say, "Come here with me." And he would open an encyclopedia. How many of you remember encyclopedias? And not Wikipedia, right? He would open the encyclopedia and tell me, read about it, learn about it. When I was 9 years old, he bought me my first encyclopedia. Yes, I am a baby boomer. I've had encyclopedias. But what he instilled in me is the drive to learn on my own and to seek. He instilled discipline and rituals. Those rituals helped me run practices and build businesses throughout my life. How many of you start your day where you actually give back and take time for yourself before you check your email or Facebook? So who wants to share maybe one of the things that they do in the morning as their ritual? Anyone? I'd like to share some. Yes, here.
Pray.
You pray. Excellent. Excellent. So he's giving some spiritual time to himself and making his connection with the higher power. What else? Yes. Your name?
Amy.
Amy. Thank you, Amy.
So I make my coffee for me.
Everybody else can make their own.
But I get up before everyone else, so it's quiet. It's kind of me time, and I sit honestly before I start getting ready and have a cup of coffee for me.
Good. So you're giving to yourself first. And that's the key. When we start our day, and how many of you serve others in one capacity or another? You pretty much all do, right? Now, go back to that trip that you're taking. When you plan your trip, and you go on the road, What's the first thing that you need to check when you get in the car?
The gas.
The gas. The gas, right? Because you cannot drive somewhere far on that journey with an empty tank of gas. What are you doing every morning to gas yourself? To give to yourself, to nurture yourself, emotionally, physically, mentally? Now, very often when I tell people about this, one of the things that I get is, I don't have time in the morning, I've got all this stuff to do. And then you run on empty. Isn't that true? So whether it's prayer, which is going to help nurture you emotionally, how many of you exercise or do something physical in the morning? You want to have energy? How do you create energy? 5-hour energy is not real energy. Energy comes because we create it. So whether it's taking a walk, like my 75-year-old grandfather used to do, or whether it's taking a class or spinning or yoga or whatever it is, but something 20 minutes. Because as a high performer, you have to be able to use your body and use your mind. And if you're not preparing yourself for the day, then it just happens, doesn't it? For over 25 years now, there's been a morning ritual in my life. No matter where I am, when I'm on the road and when I do training, there are times when I've been on the road for a week. Lots of hotels these days, believe it or not, still don't have gyms. That's why there's a floor in the room. Bless you. I start my morning with a meditation. Talk about mindset, meditation, and that does not mean sitting. There's many different ways to meditate. But what it does, it helps clear the mind from the clutter, from those negative thoughts that we have. It helps you calm down, and it actually extends your life and builds your immune system. Anyone want that? By doing something simple, getting rid of the noise. I start my day with that. And then I read something inspirational in order to nurture myself to that opening. The next thing is workout. So whether it's the gym or I kind of decided that it might be easier if I brought my workout into the house. So several years ago, I got an elliptical. And I get on my elliptical, and I work out. And while I work out, I feed my mind. Whether it's watching a YouTube or a webinar or something. Now, I've done certain aspects, I go to the kitchen and I make a shake. I have my breakfast. And it's not until I'm done with that, I start writing, if I don't have outside appointments. So I've poured into myself so I can give back to others. Isn't that true, Tina? You have to be able to give from what you have. We can't give to others when we're an empty vessel. So the more you want to give to others, the more you focus on being that anchor and nurturing yourself. Now, how do you work your time? How many of you have had challenges getting everything done? And you have these long to-do lists. And how many of you at the end of the day still have these long to-do lists and you've kind of shuffled things around a little bit? So, remember we said, words have power. How many of you, when you hear a to-do list, you go, oh, so much to do. But what if you had an action list? Isn't that a little bit more dynamic? Just switch one word. It's my action list. And what if you planned your action list in advance and you picked, first of all, the top 3 things that you dread the most and get them done first, off the table? How would that feel? Wouldn't that feel empowering? So I have a colleague who is a real estate agent. And one of the things that they had committed to do is make phone calls. Anyone here have to make phone calls? Anyone here like really loves making those phone calls? I didn't think so. Well, neither do they. So what happens, especially for the entrepreneur who's sitting at home and, you know, I could go clean up that closet. I gotta make some phone calls. Well, wait, let me make coffee first. That phone call to make. And before you know it, you know what, I actually need to go out and you know, show some houses. And those phone calls were not done. But remember, when you're committing to yourself and to your business with that excitement, what's on the end of that phone call? Yeah, there might be a no. But is it possible that there's a yes? And very often, let's face it, is everybody our customer? No, just deal with it. However, isn't it true that out of a certain amount of no's, you're going to ultimately get a yes? Yeah, just ask any flight attendant. Pretzels? Peanuts? Thank you. And they keep going. They do not take it personally. Isn't that true? A no is not something that's personal against us. A no is just, it's not right for them. So let them do that and move on to the next one. Get those tasks that give you that feeling, get them done first. And what can you do? What can you use now, a tool that you have in your resources to change your state before you make those calls? Tap a man's shoulder. Well, not everybody, all of them. But use your anchor. Go back to that feeling that you've had and empower yourself. Now, whether it's on paper or whether it's in, how many of you have smartphones? How many of you use your calendars in the smartphone? How many of you look at your day and see, let me see, how much time do I have left? When can I fit this in? And at the end of the day, you're still, okay, I'll do that tomorrow. Reverse it. Instead of prioritizing your schedule, schedule your priorities. I'm going to repeat this again because this is a writer down. Instead of prioritizing your schedule, schedule your priorities. Now in business, as entrepreneurs, what would be the number 1, 2, and 3 top priorities? The ones that bring you profit, the ones that bring the business in. So if you did this as an action, make a list of all the things that you have to do to run your business. And look at the top 3 things that will bring you income, new clients, new customers, new patients. Those are the ones that you schedule and you get done first. Everyone follow? Now, to make it easy, especially in these days, start color coding. You look then at a calendar that will show my morning rituals are always there. My 3 activities are always there. And then I can start allowing other things in. Now, speaking of allowing other things in, that's where we come in distractions, isn't that true? How many of you are triggered by this every time it pings and are reactive. Yes, there's some people in here. And by the way, this is not to put you on the spot. I've done that too. What I do is I turn the ringer off. When I have those 2 hours in the morning, and my time from 7 to 9 is my time. And furthermore, I will not check or touch my email or my social media, whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter, until 9, when I have that time for myself. And then after I check it, I put it back for several hours. Now I know there are people that work in front of computers and they might have pop-ups. If you're on a task and you want to accomplish something, is a pop-up going to help you? No. Turn them off. There's a concept called Pomodoro tomato. Anyone hear of it? Excellent. It's part of productivity management. So here's something that's going to make you more productive. You take a timer. This is basically called Pomodoro tomato because it was originally used with a Pomodoro tomato timer, a kitchen timer. But we've got them all on our phones or on the computer. And you can even download a Pomodoro tomato from the computer. Science and neuroscience has proven that our attention span for intense focus is about 15 to 20 minutes max. So when you're at your desk and you are working, that means what? Every 15 to 20 minutes, you need a change in your state. Now, it does not mean that if you're working on something and you know it's going to take you an hour, that you're not going to work for an hour. But at 15 to 20 minutes, let that alarm pop up so you can do something simple. Remember we said earlier, a change in our state can change our focus, right? It can change our mindset. So when you're hyper-focused and your mind starts fatiguing, what you do is you sit at your desk and you very slowly roll your neck. Very slower than you would even imagine. Slower than what you would see in slow motion on a big screen. What that does, it reawakens your nerve system. The other thing is you will sit and you will take 3 to 4 deep breaths. And here's how you breathe. You breathe to the count of 4 in. Hold for 4. And release for the count of 6. Everybody ready to try that? Sit up so that your lungs can expand. Awesome. I've got some people who've done it. You can stand, should you choose. Absolutely. If you want to stand, stand up. So take a breath in from your nose to the count of 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4, and let it out through your mouth. Slowly. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. What you do is you repeat that cycle 3 or 4 times. It will reoxygenate your brain, which helps improve your function. It will send oxygen into your muscles, and it helps down-regulate the nerve system. And what do I mean by down-regulate the nerve system? When our body is under stress, we send out all different chemicals, cortisol, norepinephrine, adrenaline, and that will cause more tension in the body. That will also flood areas of our brain. That will affect our thinking. How many of you have ever seen anyone who's in a hypercatatonic state? stop breathing. When you have them breathe, it will change their state. And you'll find that sometimes when you're in a hurry, you probably stop breathing too. Your breath is essential for connecting back to your body. Anyone practice yoga here? Right? You can feel the difference. So add that in. Now that you take action, let's talk about what stops us. So who wants to tell me what do you think some of the roadblocks are in the journey of an entrepreneur? What are some of the things? Yes? Interruptions, disruptions.
So you can have everything all planned, like go into work every day with a plan, and then it's all out the window as soon as there's a crisis.
And crisis does happen. Stephen Covey in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, talks about how we manage time and how we can actually move things that are crisis to a different box. And yet there are certain things that are true crisis. You know, I've done trainings before with firefighters. Well, their whole time is dealing with crisis. So they have to learn how to create some dynamic equilibrium. Because when you're operating at this level, you're operating and creating tension. Dynamic equilibrium is something that other people might call balance. The reason why I call it dynamic equilibrium, because, okay, there's balance. Scales are balanced. Is there movement? Nope. Now, isn't it true that at times you have to devote more time to a task or a project? So you might give less time to other things in your life. But once you're done with that project, you now devote a little bit more time. That's where you create that dynamic equilibrium. Means more flow in how you're living your life. So you can write that down, dynamic equilibrium. So disruptions. What else? What other roadblocks do we have?
Things that are time critical.
Time critical, so pressing matters. Now, are all things going to be time critical? What very often happens when it comes to productivity? Are there things that we've been given to do before and we just kind of don't want to do them and all of a sudden the deadline is tomorrow? So get it done. So what helps that? We talked about an action. Planning. And planning your tasks based on their priority. And by the way, if it's a big task, and it might cause what? What does a big task sometimes cause us? Anxiety and overwhelm. There's a concept called chunk it down. Okay? Because let's go back to buying a house. Talked about realtors. Realtors, you know, you come in and here I'm going to give you lots of money and I'm going to pay for the house, everything right now. Yes? Or is there a mortgage? And I make monthly payments, which means I'm chunking it down, right? Taking smaller bites. So I had a book to write. And by all means, it wasn't a really, really long book. But I used the process of dynamic equilibrium because I was actually in a situation where there was a timeline. So I took time and I put some of the other projects as lower on the priority list to write the book. And took more time to write it. But every day I committed to at least 5 topics. That was it. If I had to commit to all of them at once, it would be a lot harder, right? But commit to 5 and do the 5. So when you break a task down, all of a sudden, you're not sitting in front of that Oh my God, I did not do this. How many of you in school were crammers and studied at the last minute? It's normal, it's natural. So many of us do it. And that creates stress and anxiety. And we supposedly learn how to work better under pressure. But what does that do to us physically and emotionally? Break us down. Now we come with health challenges. And that doesn't help anybody. So proper planning will help you with breaking down some of those tasks and creating a workflow. So at the end of that, at that workflow, you'll also have time for maybe spending time with friends and family, walking your dog and doing the things that you want to do aside from work. What other roadblocks do we have? How many of you are solopreneurs? Work on your own and maybe don't have a team. The solopreneur has that challenge. And even if you're not a solopreneur and you work with other people, you still need support system, right? How many of you might have something that you need to write and then you go, Margaret, could you read this for me, please? You know, just give me your opinion. Does it sound right? So for those that are solopreneurs, making sure that you find a way, like events like this. This is why it's created. So that you can go and interact with other people and get out of the house. Get out of your pajamas. And connect so that you're not on this solo journey. What else stops us? What stops us from reaching that big goal?
Fear.
Fear. That's the elephant in the room. Fear. What are some of the things people are afraid of? Failure. What else? Success. What else? Rejection. So if I make that call, they're going to say no. What if they say yes? That was something that was said to me years ago when I was in the Army. And I had a friend, I had something I wanted to ask. And David, I'll never forget this. He said to me, Karen, if you don't ask, you may not hear the no, but you'll never hear a yes. If you don't ask, you won't hear the no, but you may not ever hear that yes. We already said that our mind creates stories. And that's how we build fears. If I told you there's a tiger outside the room, looming, I'm sure some of you would all, first of all, start like, well, what if they come up to me? And maybe not a tiger, but what if I said somebody's going to come up here right now and speak? Yeah, half the room is gulping. And you're going to have to do an impromptu talk about cosmonauts in the Soviet Union. In Russia. So we have fear when we start creating pictures in our mind. But we can also change those pictures in our mind. Isn't that true? We just had the example with Anna. So what I'd like for you to do is to go back to that big goal that you had. And I want you to think about what might be stopping you from taking the steps for that big goal. And E stands for expand beyond your comfort zone. Expand beyond your comfort zone. Because where does growth happen? Inside the comfort zone or outside the comfort zone? Outside your comfort zone. So how do you get there? Well, we now have a destination, right? And we've got the passion, we've got the drive. We know some of the actions that we need to take. And we know some of those roadblocks. One of those roadblocks is that fear. Maybe it's the fear of success for some. Maybe it's the fear of failure for others. Maybe it's the rejection. Maybe it's the fact that, oh my God, I'm going to say something and I'm going to look stupid. So I want you to think about that big goal. And I want you to take a moment and write down under E, what are the things that are causing you? What's holding you back? What are you afraid of? And take that moment to really look within. What is holding you from accomplishing that goal? And remember that picture in your mind that you had earlier on? When you looked at that goal, when you thought about your power, about what it's like to start off on your journey. I want you to take that and approach the goal with that emotion. So to wrap this up, let's have everybody close your eyes for a moment. And I want you to think about what in this goal is holding you back. I want you to think about that fear. And I want you to imagine that you're in a movie theater. And right across from you is that goal that you strive for. And that fear that's blocking you. And the thing is that you have control over that movie. So what you're going to do is you're going to start slowing it down. And as you slow it down, the sound is going to become more muffled. And you'll notice that when you're slowing it down, the characters are not as large. And all of a sudden, in the middle, instead of being in color, it's now black and white, and it becomes a little fuzzy. And at a certain point, you say, hey, I'm going to run this backwards. As a matter of fact, I'm going to take control, and I'm going to shut the movie off. And I'm going to put one other movie there instead. And that is the movie of me standing right after I accomplished my goal. And feel the feelings, see the sights, make that movie bright in color. That is your Oscar-winning moment. And come back into the room. No matter what age you are and what you do, this is a powerful tool. Parker, who I've known since he was 4 years old, just graduated U of A. He played football for years. And he was a star in high school and wanted to play Division I, either at U of A or ASU. He didn't get into U of A because the position that he was going for didn't have the scholarship. Parker, at 18 years old, had his mindset. He walked on the field, spoke to the coach. 4 months later, he got his jersey. He became a star player for U of A, defensive tackle. And I saw him yesterday. And one of the things that he said to me is that his journey was so powerful. What he wants to do today is to share what he's done and help other college kids. That's the power of a high performer. That's the power that each and every one of you have once you set your mind to it. So make this year the the best year yet. Thank you.
Thank you so much. On behalf of the Women in Business Council, we want to give you some sweets from Sweetest Season Bakery. And also, you'll notice there's a little handmade saguaro. In the desert, it's difficult to thrive and blossom. And thank you for your words and encouragement so that we can thrive and blossom in our own business. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you so much.
Sure.
If I may, for 1 minute, first of all, thank you for having me here, and thank you, Anne and Suki. But also, I want to thank my team, because without my team, I couldn't do the things that I'm doing. So from my assistant, Lisa, who you can go and visit, and from my amazing videographer, Brandon. Thank you. I'll be here if you have any questions.
So I'd love for you to join us next week. Our speaker will be Olenka Cullinan. She is speaking on building your success backbone. We'll have a Women in Business Council meeting next week, February 1st. You're welcome to join us. You can find that information on the Tempe Chamber calendar that is on their website. There are also other networking opportunities available, so please check the Tempe Chamber website so that you can find out all the chances to meet and greet each other again. We'll also be continuing to collect food and donations for Matthews Crossing Food Bank. They are looking specifically for cereal and pasta as that's their biggest demand. So if you could please bring next week cereal or pasta or any other hygiene products that would be helpful for people who are in need in the community, that would be wonderful. You'll receive a small lottery ticket, and at the end of the series, we'll be drawing a winner. So again, I'd like to thank the Tempe Chamber and their hardworking staff, and thank you for your attendance. We look forward next week and having you as part of the series. Thank you.